Welcome, everyone. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen, your host for Heads Together. It's Wednesday, April 14th, 2021, and it is a beautiful spring day. I'm here with my assistant, Jennifer Wilner. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, everybody. So excited for today.
And well, yes, we have a very special show today. I'm just loving how each week it's just kind of organically coming together. And today's topic is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. And it is about Be the Ultimate Assistant. It's about the workshop, Be the Ultimate Assistant, which for 10 years has been a live experience, a live 2-day experience that I teach with the amazing Vicki Sokol-Evans. Because it was very clear to me that it's not possible to be an ultimate assistant unless you are great at both the soft skills, people skills, and the technology productivity skills. You must be great at both of them. So, and just going to pause a second to welcome our guests from all over the world. Hey, Michelle and Dusty from Minneapolis. Oh, your poor city. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the show. We are talking about Be the Ultimate Assistant today, and some of you are BTUA alumni. Jen herself has attended BTUA, we figured out at least 3 times.
At least 3 times, yeah.
You're based in New Jersey, so Jen comes to the New York class. We do New York City once a year, and so Jen comes to support us, but also to take the class. So Jen, what I was asking you, what's a favorite memory? What comes to mind when you
my first the imprint is when Olympia Dukakis and Patrick came and you did a panel talking about all your work together.
Yeah. That picture from that event is on my Facebook page. It's Olympia's in the middle, and she was saying something probably blasphemous. And where Patrick Healy replaced me after 25 years. And but you're in touch with a lot of BTUA students, right?
Yeah, definitely. I love reaching out when I need somebody at the top of their game. Like specifically, I talked to Latricia Friend, helps me when I have a colleague who's looking for resume writing support. And it's been wonderful. But I know my BTUA family is going to give me the best support.
I mean, that's the kind of the heartbeat of the class, the culture of the class, if you will, is one of support, generous support. The whole notion that it's smart of us to support each other generously and without keeping score, because you just never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And speaking of not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring, of course, we know the pandemic hit in January of, Feb 2020, and we had to pivot and turn BTUA virtual. We were going to be live in the fall in September and October, so we couldn't do that live. So we needed to do it from here in my home office, which was a very interesting experience. And we have a student from one of those classes with us today as a guest. And then it seemed very clear pretty fast that the pandemic was going to be with us for a while. And so it seemed important to turn the class into an on-demand experience as well. So very fast, we had to go from BTUA live to BTUA virtual and BTUA on demand. And we did it so quickly that I get a lot of questions about what the experience is like. And so it occurred to me that rather than our viewers on Heads Together listening to me about it, why don't I bring in 3 students who have experienced it themselves? And actually 4, since you yourself, Jen, have come to the class 3 times. And we have BTUAers on the call right now. And welcome, Sharon. If, as we're talking for the session, if you have questions, comments, about BTUA, any of the experiences for our guests, just please put them in the chat, and Jen and our guests will get to them as fast as we can. We may go a full hour. We may go for the full hour if, given the breadth of the kind of information that we're trying to share. So I'd like to bring out our guests and then introduce each of them briefly, and then talk through a few questions for them to share their experience with you directly. Hey, Marion, welcome, welcome. So, Jen, I'd like to ask you to bring out, in this order, Teryn Giacoletto. Teryn came to our workshop, the virtual workshop, in the fall, in September of 2020. No, yes, September of 2020, right. Okay, next up, Cazola. Carol Kozola is currently taking our Be the Ultimate Assistant on Demand. And Joy Meyers. Joy Meyers came to Boston from Illinois, and she experienced BTUA live in Boston, and we had a ball with her out there. So let me just tell you a little bit about these amazing executive assistants, and then ask them some questions. Teryn Giacoletto, who, Teryn, you're looking more and more like Anne Hathaway.
No. Thank you. That's a compliment. Wow.
Please, do you get that?
Never.
Never? Oh, come on. Okay,
Thank you.
You'll have to tell me, but I think that. Anyway, Teryn is an EA with Athens administrators located in the Bay Area in San Francisco. She's been an assistant for just 3 years, following a career in health and fitness for 15 years. She supports 4 executives. She loves her husband, her 2 dogs, and she's found this new career of being an EA to be a new passion in her life. And when you hear from her, you'll know about this passion of hers. She's obsessed with all things Microsoft and loves sharing tips and tricks with anyone who wants to learn. So you got to know, Vicki Evans' eyes are turning into little hearts at this moment. Carol Cazola, she has been with LK in Downers Grove, Illinois for almost 19 years. It's going to be 19 years any minute in June. And she serves as a senior executive assistant supporting, get this, the chairman, president and CEO, the CHRO, and the owner of LK. So clearly she has a very big job. Now, she shared in her bio that a couple of years after she started at LK, she and a colleague were asked to investigate travel spend within the company because there was really no plan in place. There was no travel program. There were no policies. They figured it out together. They found that there was no real way of knowing what the travel spend would be. So they created it. P.S. Carol now conducts travel training for all new hires. That program that came out of their design is now a standard policy at the company, which is true for so many assistants who are designing amazing things. In 2010, she lobbied for and got a new title, which is a burning issue among many assistants that we hear all the time at BTUA. And then recently, like in January of 2020, she formed what they call the A team at LK, which is a group of assistants. It's an internal assistant network, and the A team consists of others who are in a support role, executive administrative coordinators, and they meet once a month to share and collaborate. And that certainly is a cornerstone of one of the ideas that makes so much sense. So good for you, Carol. And thank you so much for being here. And then finally, we have the amazing Joy Meyers, who also works at LK in Downers Grove, Illinois. She's been with the company 20 years. So at BTUA, she revealed to us her passion for events. When she was at LK for a couple of years, they were so smart because they tasked her with organizing division-wide communication meetings for up to 100 members and off-sites, and wow, she ran with it. Before long, she was planning award banquets for attendees and their spouses, like these massive events, culminating. And we were delighted to hear her tell us the story about the big meeting, the national sales meeting that they held in Kauai with 450 attendees. Oh my gosh, you got to know that when we got to the event planning part of BTUA, we were pulling from joy in a big way. So, at BTUA, in my mind, as we're teaching, it's Vicki and I are teaching, I'm thinking Joy is our events queen and Carol is our travel queen. And Teryn, wait to hear her story telling us about technology. And, we each have our SME, the subject matter expertise. So I'm going to start out asking a few questions. Please, as you're listening, enter comments, questions into the chat. Teryn, I'd like to begin with you. That you attended BTUA virtual when we had to go virtual. Were you originally supposed to come live in September? You were, okay. And then we went virtual because of life. Tell us how that happened, how you came to register for BTUA, and what were your goals? What was in your head when you came?
Yeah, so I love this story, and I really am excited to share this with you guys. So, like Bonnie said, I was in the fitness industry in management roles for about 15 years, and I got really burnt out and decided to take on an executive assistant role as sort of a rest stop for me. I thought it would be a good fit because I was always that right-hand position to the CEO. So I was used to working with CEOs in my past career. And I thought, oh, this is a good fit, but it'll be a nice, maybe lots of responsibility, but maybe less exposure and less stress. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't know there was a career path here. I just thought it would be a stop along the way until I could figure out my next move. Little did I know the potential and the satisfaction I would find in this job. And I was sitting at Executive Leadership Support Forum in San Francisco. And I think I maybe didn't have a great attitude or anything. I was just sort of there. But I heard Bonnie get up and speak. And I was kind of blown away. And I thought, oh, maybe there's something here. I heard Vicki speak. And my mind was blown, of course, with all her tips and tricks. But Bonnie was interviewing Maggie Jacobs, who many of you probably know. And I thought, oh, I want to be her. Like, she is amazing. Like, okay, there's something here. There's a career path for me here. I think I really like this. And I went and sought out Maggie Jacobs, and I sat down next to her, and it took so much courage because I was super intimidated at this point. I had no idea what this world was about in the EA world. And I sat down next to her and I said, okay, so can I pick your brain? And she was so generous with her time. And I said, what was the biggest impact for you? And she said, go to be the ultimate assistant. And I said, okay. So I enrolled, and it was everything she said it would be. It was super impactful. She said the intimacy of the small group and having that time with the instructors, with Bonnie and Vicki, and the time with the participants would be really impactful for me. Just coming into this executive assistant world, and so my goal going in was, after that, I kind of dove into all the trainings I could find and everything I could get my hands on to become this great executive assistant, because now I saw the potential of this career. And so going into this BTUA, my goal was to be with the participants. And yeah.
So when you got the news that we had to go virtual, like, you had signed up for an in-person experience.
Yep.
What were you thinking when you got the news? Like, I'm sure you understood why, but what was your thought? Did you think, oh man?
Yep. We had those conversations, you and I kept saying, I want to postpone. Let's postpone. I'll wait until it's live, because, like I said, I did all the big seminars and the webinars, and I was like, oh, this is going to be another webinar. Like, wasn't wanting that. I wanted the connection and the togetherness. And I couldn't wait any longer. So I said, no, I'll just do the virtual. And I'll tell you, I was very surprised. In fact, I think I got more face-to-face time with people because I got to see everyone's reactions, and I got to see, I don't know, there was so much connecting that happened with everyone on that screen that I didn't lose anything out of it being virtual.
Interesting. Yeah, that happened. That surprised me too.
Yeah.
The idea that in a room, even at BTUA, it's only 30 people, you still don't get to see people close up if they're at a table across the room. And this, like right now, we're seeing Carol and Joy, and we're very intimate with each other, and we're in people's homes. It was really interesting. What were a couple of your takeaways, Teryn, that was Maggie right?
Yeah. Just that, you really can still have such a great impact on an organization as an executive assistant. And, that, there's so much importance in taking what you learn and sharing it out with, those that are willing to listen or want to learn. So a lot of what Vicky's tips and tricks were, to turn around and share those out. So her training is so relevant and useful immediately, and that stuff is like drinking out of a fire hose. There's so much. I love how fast-paced the whole thing goes, everything you bring as well as far as soft skills. It's just that combination, like you said, the soft skills and the hard skills is so valuable.
Did you stay in touch with any of the students?
Absolutely. We have a group that we are connected with and meet periodically.
Yeah. And I thought that was, I remember, Teryn, when you, at lunchtime on day 2, you made it a point to say, because I was giving everybody a break, and you wanted to continue networking. So you said, hey, anybody want to stay in the room? We did.
It was at breaks and lunch that we quickly realized, let's take these opportunities at breaks and lunch. And we did. We picked each other's brains, and we still got that time to connect and say, well, what do you do in these situations? And what do you do with that? And what was your career path here? And how do you deal with an executive with this and that kind of, scenario? So we still had those times to connect, even though we weren't in person, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Did I remember that story right? That about what you did when you went, that you got your Outlook certification, and what you did at your company where you volunteered to do a lunch and learn?
Yeah. So when I got back,
that story.
Yeah. So when I got back, so I pursued my Microsoft Office Specialist certification, and I've completed, Outlook and PowerPoint and OneNote, and I still have Word and Excel on the table, but actively pursuing those because of Vicky. And I've turned around and done lunch and learns and webinars and 10-minute videos. And my first one, I had 150 people show up. And the second one was 130. I mean, it's just, people really enjoy these, very useful tips and tricks. And
people at your company use you as a resource.
Yes, I've become sort of a resource for these types of things.
And is it safe to say that your executives see the value of training?
Absolutely.
Are they paying for your certifications?
Yes.
Fantastic. May I ask, do you get an annual training budget? You don't have to. If I ask a question, is it possible for you to share what the amount is?
I think it's around, well, I don't know exactly, but as long as I bring them, here are the things that I want to pursue, and I think
if you make your case,
around a couple $1,000. Yeah, I make my case, and because I come back with a plan of here's how I'm going to implement, here's how I'm going to share all of the knowledge that I've gained, and here's how I think it could be used. Here's how it's beneficial. I found a gap in some of the training at our company where we have employees that are becoming supervisors. We did a ton of promoting from within. So there's a gap there in skills where somebody's been doing the same job for years, or they're young and they haven't, they all of a sudden need these organizational skills. They're all of a sudden doing a lot more calendaring and a lot more OneNote and Planner and all of these things that they don't know how to use, and who's going to train them on it? So, hey, why not use me? And it's above and beyond. So then there's an opportunity to say, hey, maybe I can make more money, or maybe I can be bonused, or throw something out there. You want to add value wherever you can.
New title,
Right.
More responsibility. It's a way of expanding the role. You're filling gaps. Good for you. Congratulations. Teryn, anyone who's listening, Jen is putting Teryn's LinkedIn profile in the chat. Teryn, if people have questions about BTUA Virtual, can they come to you and ask you specific questions about the experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Was it useful for us to talk ahead of time? Because part of BTUA is that I speak with every student ahead of time.
I just thought that was so lovely and so nice. And you just have this way of making everything so personal. And I just felt like you understood me immediately. And that was just such a nice touch.
Okay, good.
I felt like I had my own superstar mentor, and it was just really, really nice.
I hope you still feel like that. Yeah,
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
The whole thing about BTUA is that it doesn't end when the experience ends, that it goes on if our students want that. So Teryn, thank you for sharing those thoughts, and we'll circle back. But I'm going to move on to Carol. Thanks, Lynn. So happy you're here. No, I'm sorry. We're going to go to Joy next. Joy. Joy, you came to BTUA Live in Boston, and I remember that was a really fun class. Tell us the story of what made you register for BTUA, and how did that all happen?
Well, Executive Leadership Support Forum in New York City in 2018, and that's where I met you. And so then, of course, after reading your book and then getting, hooked up with BTUA, there was no question that I wanted to do a BTUA forum. And going to Boston also gave me the opportunity to stop by and visit my parents in Connecticut. So I saw them first, took the train up from Stamford to Boston, and then spent the weekend up in Boston.
So it ticked a lot of boxes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I've stopped predicting about why people will come. It doesn't matter where we do the class. We've had the class in New York, and people from California will come. But then I do it in California, people from New York will come. People have very different reasons for wanting to come to cities. We're going to be in Houston in September and Colorado Springs in November. Joy, describe experience, if you would. What was it like being in that room with everybody?
It was just so incredible. I know one of the things that you insisted upon was that each day that we were there, we had to sit at a different table with different students. It was not that you could sit with the same people every day. And I think the encouragement to network and to get to know the other attendees was probably the best part of the whole experience.
Wow. Can you hear me?
I can.
And now we can see you too.
Are we hearing Joy, or are you not hearing me?
I can hear you, and I can see you, and I can hear and see everybody else.
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Uh-oh. I'm having some.
We're good. We're good, Bonnie.
Jen,
Bonnie, we can see you and we can hear you.
Just one second. Audio.
This is what happens with technology. Hi.
Everyone on this call understands. I'm so sorry. Where I wasn't able to hear Joy, but were you all able to hear Joy's answer?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
you all, great. Fantastic. So yes, I do insist that everybody sit at a different table so they get to know each other. Joy, were there any surprises for you about the experience and what you took away from it?
Not really. I mean, a lot of some of the content and the structure was, familiar in terms of we did at the Executive Leadership Support Forum, but it was just, again, the new speakers and the new topics of conversation. The one thing that I did is I started a notebook and I completely filled it over the course of the 2 days.
Wow.
That I couldn't write fast enough.
Isn't that amazing? And okay, so you've been at LK 20 years and this was 2018. So I'm doing, as Vicki would say, public math 3 years ago. So 17 years into your work, you're still filling up a notebook filled with new information. And that's saying something, that I mean, certainly our goal is to provide information that's fresh and new and responsive to what is going on in our world right now. Joy, I happen to know the answer to this, but talk about your future plans for training. What are, because the common denominator of all these people on this call today is the love of training and wanting to be the best. So what's your plan for future?
Well, as you know, I am signing up for Colorado Springs today. So you'll actually see 4 of us from LK at BTUA Live in Colorado Springs in November. And we're so
motivating that? What's motivating that?
Again, it's the personal contact. It is just being able to learn from all the other amazing students who come to network, to find out what works for them, to really kind of stretch. And, for me, it's like, okay, I need to learn more about OneNote. Let me find those subject matter experts in OneNote and really pick their brains and say, okay, push me to adopt OneNote. How do I make this work? And Jen, of course, with all of Vicki's training is just so amazing. And I love coming back and sitting down with the employees and say, okay, I'm going to show you 3 tips so you can remember them. And most of them are kind of like, oh man, that is so cool.
Right?
I never could live without that.
And
It's so fun.
And what's so wonderful, Joy came to the 2-day experience. Well, now we're 10 years into BTUA and I mean, you all have experienced it. Teryn said it's jam-packed. It is so meaty. Vicki and I sat down and because over these years, we've heard back from our students who say, you know what, the only thing wrong with it needs to be longer. So starting in Houston and then in Colorado Springs, it is now a 3-day experience. That's what Joy and your 3 colleagues will be experiencing. 2 full days of me and 1 full day of technology. Now, won't that be?
It will be amazing.
Awesome.
What did you think when you read that, Joy?
That I think it's just going to be incredible. And I'm so excited that we're going to be able to come.
Yeah, and how smart of your leaders to do that. So fantastic. Joy, I'm really thrilled because, I want you to tell the Kauai story again, the whole thing about the events. We all need to know our subject matter experts. And so Joy, same with you. We're putting your LinkedIn profile in the chat. We invite anyone listening to connect with you, right?
Please.
And you want great ideas about events? She's your lady. Oh my gosh. And then we have Carol Cazola. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Bonnie.
And Carol Cazola and Joy actually are both taking Be the Ultimate Assistant on Demand, which was, an effort to address what's going on with the pandemic, this unprecedented thing. I ran into the studio and Vicki did the same, and we tried our best to recreate the live experience on video. So Carol, tell us what made you decide to do it. Tell us about, because you've been working for 19 years. You are a seasoned assistant. What motivated that choice for you, please?
Well, I'm always wanting to learn. You can never learn too much. And you got to constantly evolve around your position because things are ever changing. So my coworker, Joy, was telling me about BTUA Live. And she was like, oh, you got to come and do this with me, which I would have gone live if we didn't go through a pandemic. And so then when it came across that you're going to have an on-demand course, Joy says, hey, they're going to do an on-demand course. I'm like, awesome. Sign me up. I didn't even get approval. I just said, sign me up.
And I paid for it.
I'll explain later,
Ask for forgiveness. Better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, right?
Right, absolutely.
So, but I think you shared that you're a visual learner.
Correct.
Do you enjoy learning? This year, we've all learned a lot about ourselves. Do we learn better in person? Do we learn better on the computer? Talk about that. What's the experience like learning from videos?
Well, for me as a visual learner, the great thing with video is you can stop. You can rewind. I would have on demand on one screen because I have two screens. And especially when I'm going along with Vicki on some of the Microsoft tips and tricks, be it I'll have, she's touching on Word or whatever, I'll have Word up on the other screen and I'll be trying what she's demonstrating or telling us tips and tricks on. So, okay, pause her, go over, try it myself, do that a couple times, and then they stick with you. I love being in person, yes, but then you're taking notes. And for me, sometimes I might lose something in that. So even though it's great to be there and I get a lot out of it, just the luxury of having that stop, rewind, pause is a great benefit for me.
Yeah. I mean, do you ever do it at 11 o'clock at night? Or
I can do it anytime. I am in my PJs. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Right. And part of the experience is that once a month we do live meetings, because when Vicki and I were creating the on-demand class, you all know how much making it personal means to me.
Right.
That is my heart. And the idea that I want to touch you some way. I want that. I need to know who you are. That's the high I in me, because we do the DISC assessment. And so once a month, we decided the video assistant meeting via Zoom. Carol, can you talk about what that experience has been like? Because you've attended a bunch of them.
Yes, I have. And it brings it all together. It really brings, yes, you see you on demand and stuff, and you do make everything super real. But when we have our monthly meetings, we're seeing you live, we're seeing other attendees online, and we can answer questions back and forth, and we can just all be open and honest and gather information from one another on those subject matters. And I've come back to, work with some of those ideas.
And have you stayed in, do you connect with anybody? Because that group is international. We've got people from Africa and France, and Claudia is saying she did on demand as well, and it was awesome.
Yep. Yes, that dual screen is wonderful, Claudia.
Claudia, feel free to comment and question. Have you had interaction? Do people? I don't really know the answer.
We've been connected. I get a lot of connections with LinkedIn, and sometimes there's messages going back and forth. So yes, I connect. We'll put in there. Oh, met you on BTUA, the monthly call, or wherever, and you have those resources. Those subject matter experts that are out there that you could turn to at any given time.
Marion Freund is on the call today, and she took the virtual class as well, and on demand. So Marion, feel free to comment. Carol, Carol, I know you're coming to Colorado Springs.
Yes, I'm excited.
What is, let's see, Marion saying the most valuable takeaway for her is the networking, that she set the get-togethers. That Marion's been one of our students who is so active in wanting to know other BTUA students. I mean, it makes so much sense to all of you and to all of our students that we need to know each other, because we just never know. And the spirit of the room is, that's what we do. We support each other generously and without keeping score, and we embrace the diversity of our students. That's the most important thing. Carol, is there anything else you want to say about the on-demand class that our audience ought to know?
It is so easy, so simple to use, so easy. You have your dashboard in there, so it keeps track of each of the sessions that you've completed. You can go back to those sessions that you completed. There's no timelines like, it's been a week. Where have you been? So
I hate that
wonderful.
myself. So I didn't, you have as the instructor, I have the choice whether to do that to you or not. I'm like, no, you're a grown up. You get to decide when you want to do it.
And it fit into my schedule.
Yeah.
It fit into this new world that we're in, even though I'm, I go into the office once a week now, but, I'm mostly at home. And so it fits into it, and I can fit it in between Zoom calls, or again, late at night if I have nothing else better to do.
So for the BD on demand class, we provide my book and Vicky's book electronically. Has that worked for you? Has that?
Yes. And Joy was kind enough to give me the hard copy of your book. So I read it that way. And Vicky, I did download that, but then I was like, you know what? I kind of want like my own hard copy. So I did get it off of Amazon.
Got it.
But the tips and tricks sheet that I have, it's again, so nice that you can make it as versatile as you want for whatever your personal needs are.
Right. That's great. That's super. Teryn, is there anything else our audience ought to know about the virtual class? Is there anything that came to mind?
Well, one of my other favorite takeaways is that you get to walk away with this magical spreadsheet, which is everyone's favorite resources. And it's amazing because you get to share your favorite apps, websites.
Can you tell everybody how we do that, if you would?
Yeah, I mean, somebody is designated in the beginning of the training, and you just send your top 10 to that person, and she, by the end of the training, sends out this wonderful spreadsheet of each person's top 10 resources that they use on a daily basis. So
what's an example of one of yours? What's one of your favorite apps that you use?
Well,
like if we were in class right now, what would you say?
Joincabinet.com is this website that I go to where executive assistants can post quick questions. What's a great restaurant in downtown Chicago that I can send my CEO to? And you'll get executive assistants from downtown Chicago that can give you a great restaurant, or private plane recommendations, or, whatever. So that's one. Different apps, websites, YouTube channels for different trainings that people like.
So is there a cost for Join Cabinet?
No, the basic platform is free. If you want to use their planner resource, then you can upgrade and pay for that.
Do you reference that spreadsheet still?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Joy,
it's really cool.
Joy, what's one of your favorite apps?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I hate to say it, but Google Maps.
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
Yeah. So do you reference, I'm just curious, I don't know the answer to this one either. Do you reference that spreadsheet at all, Joy or Carol?
I don't remember getting one of those when at BTUA Live.
Oh, okay.
I think before you started it.
We do that in every class where we ask our students for their top favorite apps and resources, but I'm going to double check. We'll get you one of those.
And please add me to that list.
Yeah, you bet.
That wasn't on demand, so.
That's right. That's right. So Jen, in the background, in our backstage, if you have any questions, comments from our audience, please put them up. Sharon is saying, thanks for mentioning this. It's one of the things, I don't know what Edwina had mentioned. Access to funding. What did Edwina say? It sounds like that many assistants are still finding pushback from executives for training dollars, and that it's getting easier. I'm thinking after on demand, virtually my next stop is joining the live. And finally, never too much BTUA. Oh, I'm delighted to hear you say that, Marianne. Every workshop is different, and now the live experience is going to be 3 full days. We figured 10 years in, we have to do it. Like there's just so much to know. I mean, just think about the last year. We have to have a component about working from home, and the dynamics about how do you keep communication going between the work from home people and the people who are going into the office, and how you do that. We're talking about a new segment or a new component of disaster planning. Certainly, when it comes to now, it's public health. We have, natural disasters of weather. We have man-made disasters of terrorism. And now we have public health emergencies. So it's a whole new thing. So of course we needed a third day. And with technology, my gosh, Teams alone, when the pandemic hit, it seemed like everybody was like scrambling to learn Teams really fast. And Vicky has never been busier. So, Claudia, hi, Claudia. It's welcome, Claudia. We're happy you're here. We're talking about the Be the Ultimate Assistant workshop experience, which is on the website, betheultimateassistant.com. And I invited our students to share about the experience. Let me just throw it open. Joy and Teryn and Carol, any of you have any other thoughts, any, things that came to your mind about favorite things that happened? Or
it's just a wonderful opportunity to receive, I would say, state-of-the-art training to really elevate your game to the next level and have an opportunity to network with some of the most amazing EAs out there and learn from all of their experiences.
Yeah, our class definitely does tend to attract the creme de la creme, or the assistants who are just hungry to be the very best, even though you all have had vast experience. I love that. And then, someone like Teryn doesn't have as much experience, but clearly you are on fire when it comes to wanting to learn. So,
and I try to pitch it to my executives, like, go run your business, go grow the organization, go do your thing, go be visionary, and let me keep your skill set sharp, and let me keep your technical training, sharp. Let me do that for you. It's not necessarily about my training, but it is. But you don't have time for this. You don't have time for this.
Right.
Let me do that, and I will relay this back to you and make sure that you've got all the latest technology and all the latest tips and tricks and efficiencies. But you don't have time to sit in a classroom and learn this stuff.
Absolutely not. There's a saying out there that if a leader doesn't have an assistant, they are an assistant. Right?
Yes.
They are.
We are an extension of them. We are a vital extension of them, and we take away some of that stuff that they don't need to worry about, so that they can focus.
They can focus on the thing that only they can do. Right, Carol?
Right. Absolutely.
And if you save your executives 1 hour, 2 hours a week, that is big money.
Right.
That's big money. a couple of weeks ago on March 30th, I did a town hall with Doug Conant, who is the former CEO of Campbell Soup. And the topic was leveraging your executive assistant. And there were some leaders on the call. And one of them was talking about the whether it's useful or not to have an assistant. And Doug's comment was, he said, Joe, assistants are kind of like a cheap date. They don't cost that much money to get this much benefit. I mean, he said that.
Wow.
He said that's how he described it. And honestly, I think that's how leaders talk to each other. You are. Really, in the scheme of the whole budget of a company, an executive assistant is, even if you're in six figures, which I hope you are, it's still not that much money. Any other comments before we head towards wrapping up? Any other thoughts?
I welcome, if anyone please has any questions or just wants to pick my brain, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share with you whatever I can.
Thank you, Carol. That's what BTUAers do. That's what ultimate assistants do. And Latricia just commented, hi, Latricia, happy you're here from New York City. Jen Wilner was talking about you earlier about your resume services. Each of our students, each of you, everybody on this call listening right now, you're all subject matter experts. Every one of you has subject matter expertise. And at Be the Ultimate Assistant, we just make it our business to support you to find out who your experts are. I want to just briefly share something that happened this week. And that is that I'm working with a CEO and her assistant. And the leader has been going through many assistants. And she knows she needs help. What I suggested that they both do, I asked them both to read my book over last weekend. And then we came together for 1 hour. And the leader, who has been a leader for 30 years, said, your book blew my mind because I didn't know that I was able to ask my assistant to do all of this for me. And the assistant is sitting there chomping at the bit because she's so excited about getting involved in all the things that now she's going to get involved with. The leader she was hired to be an EAPA. So leader is saying how she's so busy, she can't get to she doesn't have time to find the home repair people to deal with all the things that are going wrong. And assistant says, oh, my family owned a construction company. I know all about those things. So leader is like mind being blown. Leader says, oh, and I have a family wedding that is being coordinated up in Massachusetts later in the year. And I need like all this stuff for the wedding, transportation and wardrobe and And I said to assistant, so assistant, have you ever been involved in any wedding preparation ever in your life? Oh yeah, 2 years ago, I was the maid of honor at my best friend's wedding and I helped her coordinate the whole thing. Again, like all it takes is you can see what was going on. And 1 hour with them. And now leader knows what's possible. Assistant has a clear runway. It doesn't take that much. So hopefully assistant will be coming to be the ultimate assistant. Leaders I needed to just share that leaders in general don't fully know what you're capable of doing. And if that's the case, certainly at BTUA, Joy, is it safe to say that your leader now knows what you're capable of?
I would say so, yes. And I think the other thing is that BTA helps give you the strength to bring that forward and show it and tell your executive, this is what I can do.
Right. To speak to it, to feel a license to speak to it. Teryn, what about you? Your leaders clearly understand what you're capable of now, right?
And they just felt my fire too. I mean, it lights you up, that fire is worth every penny.
Yeah. And
we need that shot in the arm, every once in a while too.
And is it reasonable to say, I mean, it lasts. It's not for the couple of days that you're doing it, it lasts. And that's, honestly, for me, that is one of the most gratifying pieces about Be the Ultimate Assistant, is that it's very exciting to go through those days together. But it's when I get those emails 3 years later, 5 years later, sometimes more, where new things have happened as a result of what we did together in that room, whether that's very special. And I feel like, well, that's the reason to do this, and as long as that's true, we're going to keep doing it. So I thank you so much, Teryn and Carol and Joy. Thank you, ladies, for joining us and being so generous with sharing what you know.
Thank
It's
you.
been wonderful, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thanks for the experience. Thank you.
You are welcome. So everyone listening, please connect with our terrific guests, Teryn Giacoletto, Carol Cazola, and Joy Meyers. Next week is Administrative Professionals Day, Wednesday, April 21st. And Jen Wilner and I will be back to help celebrate with you. If you'd like to be here with me, it would be a joy and an honor to be together on Administrative Professionals Day. And so with that, I thank you, Jen, behind the scenes, and I thank you to our guests and to all of you for listening. Please share this replay with anyone you know who wants to know more about Be the Ultimate Assistant, and or speak directly to our guests who are being so generous to share honest information with you. So thank you so much. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.